call this meeting of the Conservation Commission to order on December 14th at 7:34, it looks like. Welcome, everybody. I don't have any public comment received, and no one here. So we'll move on to our minutes. The minutes were sent out. Anybody have any noted corrections on the minutes? And if there's no discussion on that, then we will just move to adopt the minutes as is.
Second.
Thank you, Diana. And all in favor? Some
Abstain.
vacation?
Abstain.
Yes, Paul abstains. Everybody else is a yes. And the minutes are adopted.
I wasn't here the last meeting, so.
I had sent out the calendar for next year, and thought we'd leave it to the newly seated board come January, newly seated commission come January to officially adopt it, but wanted to run it by everybody today to see if there are any suggested changes. For instance, per the comment that was made just before the start of the meeting, our December meeting next year is it would be held to the third Thursday, would be on December 19th, which is close to Christmas, and perhaps we want to move that.
Next year?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna move that over.
So that would be the.
Hold on.
We'll have to check, of course, that the room's available, but.
Sorry, just so everybody knows, December 19th next year is a Thursday, and then Christmas isn't until the following Wednesday. So do we feel we need to move that?
I think it's better. If you see all those meetings out there, they're all canceled for this one. So at least we can do it earlier.
So to try to move it up to the 12th? And we're definitely more than 30 days notice. So,
I think so.
does that sound good, that December 12th
Sure.
for
Yeah.
everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Any other obvious conflicts that people say, want to make a comment on?
I didn't see any, but then it's a little early for me to figure that out.
I mean, we'll have another shot at it in January, but I thought it'd be worthwhile to get it in as good a shape as we could for that. Okay.
1 second.
All right, any other comments on the next year's calendar? Okay.
The October one's my birthday, but I'll just
One of them's your birthday?
October is my birthday. I'll just expect that sherry cake.
Write it down, Barb.
September.
Just saying.
You,
I think we can
you,
do that if I
you
can remember
have-
that far.
you put yourself.
Yeah, you put yourself out there now.
Okay, we'll star that one here. All right. Very good. I had a couple of remarks noted down, and we're approaching the end of the year, and it's often a time we look back. And so I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your work this year, contributions to the commission, and your service to the commission. And you've volunteered, obviously you've volunteered your time for the good of the town, and I thank you for that, and on behalf of the town, I thank you for that. And I know it takes time out of your personal life. We didn't necessarily finish everything we set out to do. The properties were the preservation, maybe the tree preservation that we're working on, but we'll get to those next year and finish those up, and then move on to new challenges. I'm not sure what they all are. I know grants are going to be one of them we're going to try to do, and maybe the house we spoke of before could be a good test case. I think we were looking for something that might take us through the process, and maybe that's it. We'll have to look to see if those types of grants are available. 4 of us have expiring terms. assume you know who you are. And I guess just if when you arrive at a decision, if you're gonna ask to be reappointed, appreciate if you'd let me know if you're not gonna re-up, just so I typically try to work with the two different party chairs in a way that to encourage them to fulfill the seats quickly, more or less, just so we have a full commission. I did that when the seat Paul occupies came available.
Do you know when
Just
the
about-
swearing
Or
in?
Joy, most recently, I guess, was a better example.
Do you know when the swearing in ceremony is for new commissioners?
Well, I do not, is the short answer.
Okay.
Obviously,
Kathy, do you know?
the new Board of Selectmen has to meet and come up with the nominations and appointments, I guess. So there are nominations made at the Board of Selectmen meeting, and then they're voted on, and those are the appointments. So it would be after that point. Now, in my mind, theoretically, they can't meet until January 1st. But I guess on the other hand, I've heard of some meetings taking place before the end of the year, but I don't think they're official till January 1st. So I have to assume that those appointments will be in that time period, and then as quickly, whenever that first meeting is of the Board of Selectmen, then whether they'll have a special right away so they can get the commissions fully staffed. I'm going to say I haven't been here and through that process, so I don't truly know. But I'm speculating just on their terms start January 1st, so it must be after that.
When were the selectmen sworn in?
I do not know.
Do you have any idea?
I'm thinking January, I don't think.
Oh, I know it's January, but I just don't, I'm wondering what it is, because they can't officially do anything.
Right,
until after.
exactly, Barbara, that's the point. Yeah. It's a question I can ask, but we won't be together again. I mean, if I find out, I'm sure it's getting to be that time where they've probably made that decision now. Okay. Just while I have the floor, the one other note I have here, I've been invited by the Housing Committee to present the Greenway plan to them. I think they started to understand that there are some properties that they may have been considering for housing that are part of our Greenway, and now they want a sense of what the whole Greenway looks like, and so it's an opportunity to get across to them something about our open spaces in town and some of the properties where they're preservation. So I'll be going to their January meeting.
What's this group?
The Housing Committee.
We're looking for affordable housing committee.
Yeah, part of their charter.
Sorry, so they're asking you to present on the update on the Greenway plan?
Yeah, not an update, but just what is the Greenway plan, and just what is, and I think without being stated, their question is, well, what properties are in the Greenway? I think they're interested in that. And while, I could just give them a list of properties, they invited me to come and discuss the plan with them. So I'll show them the map we made and get them some education on the open space in town. I think those maps will be helpful for that.
Would the map that you just were talking about be helpful for them to use? Awesome.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately, we can't enlarge it very much. I don't think that painting program.
It was
that
made
we
with
use.
with Microsoft Paint,
And I'm not sure that expands.
And
Could you scan it and then enlarge it in Chris Sullivan's?
plotter, yeah.
Sorry, can't we use the GIS system?
That's what it was. That's what we started with.
And then they saved it as a,
And then apparently they saved it to another
What
format and then used Paint to
he-
fill it in.
he
The
imported,
program Paint.
he took,
yeah, no,
he
yeah.
took the town GIS map and he exported it and then imported it into Paint, and then he started coloring the different properties,
Sure.
different colors for different purposes.
Well,
So what
Barbara just said.
we have, you know, we have that very large map that
Yeah.
we created over time. So that'll work very well. This might be a nice supplement, and what we can do, if I, you know, may be able to get a copy from him electronically.
I'm
That's
saying-
where he wasn't sure, though.
Be
Right.
curious on the GIS system, if we can just give them a list of those properties and they can create a new base layer, layer
Yeah,
for the.
he's not a GIS person, though. He doesn't have a GIS program to
Who?
work with.
The person that painted it in.
Oh, yeah, no, but I'm saying we know what those properties are, right?
Yeah.
We know what
Oh,
the
yeah.
Greenway properties
Yes,
are,
we
we
do.
have that. So, we also have a GIS system in town, or maybe a consultant who does the GIS for
Yeah,
the
we-
town? Would it be, there's the
You can go on anytime online.
right, so I'm saying somebody in town hall knows how to create a layer in the GIS system. You give them the list of addresses, they should be able to create a layer that then you can select and see,
I-
and you can export it in other things.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about the paint.
I do not think, Diane, that there's anybody in town hall that knows how to do
Somebody
GIS
must have been
mapping. They
able
don't
to-
know the
I-
software.
For GIS?
Yeah.
No, we have the software,
It-
No,
it's-
everybody.
GIS you can't, like Chris can look at, you come in with your property, do I have wetlands, she hits some button
Yeah.
and it shows the
Yeah,
wetlands.
Exactly.
But she is a user of the output that some GIS specialist created.
Yes.
It's a service we use in common with a lot of other towns.
Yeah,
So they've taken the data, they have GIS specialists who can create those maps, load the data. We don't have them in town hall.
yeah, so what I'm saying is those specialists,
Yeah,
you send them a Excel spreadsheet
Yeah.
with the property
addresses.
IDs, and then they create a layer that
Yeah.
we then have access to through our GIS system by clicking the button that says Greenway. So it's not like an overnight thing, but it is something
Yeah.
that can happen so that we
Well-
have it moving forward and we don't have to rely on
So
a file from Paint that's, older and harder to use.
So for instance, when you go into GIS, you can click zoning and it'll indicate what the zoning is for an area. So it must be something that the town can customize, because
Yeah.
that's obviously a Woodbridge specific designation.
well,
Now, I know, I'm gonna interrupt, Tim's right, I'm sure you have to go to the GIS company
Right,
and talk
Yeah.
specifically with them how to add it in. Like, we don't know how to add that stuff in, no, not to
Yeah.
GIS.
so I've made layers with that company
Right.
in the GIS system before. So
they
it's
do-
not,
they do
So you
special,
can-
they do custom layers for a fee?
yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
So you
That's
can
good.
make a layer of all religious properties, and a layer
Sure.
of all.
yes. I think we had to do one for all of the offspray nests at one point. But yes, if you can give them an Excel of what you're looking for, and I think they have like
Yeah.
property ID numbers or something, and so that's what you would use
Well,
to say this is our greenway, and then we have it. So as we add to it or it changes, it evolves, we need to get that layer again. It's a little easier to recall, and we have it.
Oh, that's good.
um,
That's
It's not
in any case,
useful tool.
in any case, we went down a rabbit hole there, but, so I'll go to the housing committee with our maps, and then this map, if we can grab it
It's, yeah.
and print it in something that's more bigger than the small screen that I saw it on. So we'll try
Well, I
to,
have it printed just an 8x10,
yeah,
8x11 paper,
Yeah.
but if, I can make it up to 11 by 17, that's as far
Yeah.
as I can go with my
Okay.
machine.
Okay. Well,
Chris,
if it's not
Also,
easy, if it's not
You
easy,
can do it larger.
yeah,
that'd be
yeah,
great.
you know, I don't, if it's easy, it'd be great. I don't feel I needed to explain what the Greenway is to the Housing Committee.
But Tim, it sounds like Kathy's nodding, that Barbara could send it to,
Oh, yeah,
and make a big
that would be easy.
copy.
Yeah.
So can you
Yeah.
send it to Kathy, Barbara?
Yeah.
Cool.
Actually, send it to Chris, send it to me, then I'll send it to Chris, because her computer's the only one that likes our plotter.
Okay.
But you didn't put software on your computer.
What's her, do you have her email, Barbara?
When is that meeting again, Tim?
It's in January.
January.
I do not know the date.
We don't have the date yet, okay. Yeah, I think it's an important discussion to have, you know, so they're obviously looking at the lands for some reason. We wanna make sure they
And
understand.
might you wanna go also?
I'm sorry, you said you wanna go also?
Might
You
you?
wanna go also?
You wanna go also? Jan,
Anybody can go to the meeting.
Yeah, that, no, you know, to support the discussion.
okay.
Next item is tree preservation update and discussion. I'll open it up.
Rock, paper,
I
scissors, okay, go.
believe
Barbara's nominated to just,
Yep, Barbara wants to talk about it.
yeah, go ahead, Barbara.
Barbara's going to talk about it. Barbara's already talked about it with the chairman.
Can I talk real fast? Swearing in is December 29th. The people that are being sworn in cannot go back in, and they go to the town clerk, whenever they're available and get sworn.
Is that the same day for the selectmen as well?
I had asked, I said, Mika, Board of Selectmen.
Okay, yeah.
Does
December
that have a
29th.
time? A time?
Yes, yes, she just said December 29th.
So we'll just be here all day.
Oh, I'll check.
December 29th, so then they already probably know. Can we assume that they already know who's,
I
It's
have
only
no
2
basis
weeks
on which is to say whether you can assume that or not.
well, it's
I-
only 2 weeks away, so I would assume that they have already made some decisions. If they're having
Yeah,
a
I
swearing in
don't-
at the 29th.
I don't.
Yeah, because it has
I
to
just
do
don't
with
know.
the, who the recommendations are, right, from the town committees?
The
Yeah,
town committee.
town committee.
Right, they would have to give
Sure.
notice to these people, you know,
Yeah.
at least 2 weeks in advance, so.
And hopefully they've
Um,
accepted,
no,
they've got a
but-
deadline for accepting
Right,
their nomination.
right, 'cause in order to have a swearing in on the 29th, that's, what, 15,
It's
14
cutting it
weeks?
close.
Yeah, so,
I think what she said was the swearing in of the Board of Selectmen.
And the,
Well, I had asked Mika, the first select person, and Board of Selectmen. And she said the
Right,
swearing in is
so that's the-
December
oh, just for the selectmen, I
Then
think.
Yeah,
that's
so
not-
Oh, I thought it was for
that's
the,
not
oh, is it not for
commissioners.
everybody? Is it just for
So
the
then the Board
selectmen?
of Commissions, Board
Doesn't
and
matter.
Commissions would be after that.
Everybody wanted to know when they're getting sworn in.
Right.
Just the board of selectmen?
Well, that's what I thought.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay.
So
So
something's
the-
happening the 29th.
Yeah. So
At 3 o'clock.
whereas
I'm getting the time, I don't know.
I
that.
just got the time.
Oh, there you go.
We were texting different sources.
Okay, there's the time. 3 p.m. everybody.
So whereas I assume they didn't start till January 1st, maybe they get sworn in ahead of time and they become official.
There you go.
Yeah, ready to go,
There you go.
go. And so then, again, my assumption would be, at a point after that, they'll have the meeting at which they
Solidify their.
solidify the
selection.
appointments to the boards and commissions of the town.
Okay.
So that makes sense. I mean, you want them to be ready to go. And that's probably, the 29th is either a Thursday or Friday, if I'm not wrong.
Right,
Friday.
it's a Friday.
It's a Friday.
2 weeks from
So it's
tomorrow.
probably the last business day before the start of the year. And that's probably why it's,
So reappointments and new appointments will be sworn in that day as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you're getting
That's what I'm,
at?
that's what I'm getting on my end.
okay.
You got the source here.
Yeah, you're really good, so that's
This
important to know.
this is like real-time information.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
All right. So,
Tree ordinance has nothing to report.
Okay.
No, so the tree, we had gotten together, we were trying to wait and to find out what was going on with P and Z, and their regs, because they were doing some updating of it, and, you know, we have some comments, you know, some of it is, I wouldn't say it's really too substantial, the text changes that we were recommending. But we thought maybe we would take a look at what they already have existing, so we know we're not starting from scratch, because after what we had found out through our research was that we already have some regulations, some language in there that currently exists. What they are updating right now, if in P and Z and the regulations, is not substance that's, you know, substantial. It's not substantive. What's the word?
Substantive.
Thank you. Substantive. Like a dental appointment. I'm still kind of numb. Thank you.
Wearing off.
Everybody who's watching, I'll be here all night. So you know, they're really going through and just making sure it's about organization. So you know, like chapter 1 is supposed to be about this. They want to make sure everything's like sort of laid out in the right order and whatnot. And then from there, they will have a review of the text to go through to see if anything needs updating. But right now, they're just sort of reorganizing, restructuring how it's all laid out. So I think once they've reorganized how things are, then it makes sense for us to, again, take a look at it and give them, you know, start that dialogue with them about these are our recommendations on how, you know, for areas that's our bailiwick.
If they're not making substantive changes, and it's just a matter of making sure that references are in place,
Correct.
then why would we have to wait to?
Well, we don't
because
have a
the-
copy
the
of
language.
There's
Well,
no-
you have a copy of the current regulations.
No, we
it.
don't.
No, we don't. We don't. Bits and pieces of it are online, but not the whole thing. Do you have a copy of it? You want to share?
I do not have a copy of that, but the copy is online, I believe.
But it's not
It's
complete.
not complete online.
What's not complete about it?
Like
Part of
it stops at chapter 5, and it should go on to, you know, chapter 6 that it references and many things like that. It's like they
That may be
photocopy.
some of the corrections they're making, because.
Yeah, it's like somebody scanned in half of the document, and that's
Okay.
all that's there online.
it-
And it's
it-
not
it-
even a
it-
document
I
that,
think
it's not
it's
even a
more than half,
document that
but
you
they
can,
decide.
like,
Is-
control find and select text. It's like an image going back
Yeah.
to the paint.
Right.
Right? Like a
Right.
paint picture, basically, of
So-
what is there.
Does the part that theirs contain the tree, language about trees and clearing trees? Because I know I read that.
That's a TBD, because we haven't been able to see. Some of it references other areas of the chapter where it talks about things in the tree ordinance we were looking at, but then you can't get to those other chapters because they don't exist online. So that's why
Got
we
it.
requested a full copy of it.
Okay, and we've not been able to get that?
We were told no, because they're editing
Because
it,
they're editing it, so it's kind of around in circles.
or around the tree.
Good point.
And
So
the
do you
pla-
have a time
the-
frame? Is that like a 2-month process or a 6-month process, or you have no idea?
That they're upgrading
Yeah.
them, I don't know.
Okay.
They just said
Did-
they.
I will volunteer to reach out to them to find out what that time frame is and when is the best time for us to support their efforts,
Did-
if you'd like.
The place you looked for this partial check
Mhm.
for the 5 chapters?
Yeah.
Where was that?
The town's website and the
website.
charter,
Okay.
and where they,
Did you look at the state website?
No,
no.
The state has a website that, I'm going to call it a state website, to the best of my memory right now, that lists the ordinances.
By town?
Yeah, and maybe, yeah, yes, it's by town.
Like the town charters?
Yeah, and the charters and the regulations.
Hmm.
You've visited it,
That's
perhaps
worth
visited it in
a
the
look.
past. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I would think that it would be there in its entirety, maybe a more modern version.
I would also
It-
think that would come up on a search, but I didn't.
Yeah. If I would ask you to take a look, see if you can find it there. If you can't, I'd like to know, because I will get a copy. There's no excuse. It's a public document. We should be able to get it.
yes, agreed. But I was told no,
All right, so we would do that. Once you have that, then what's the process, do you think, that you're working through? What do you process you're working through, but what are you working towards? What do you think's gonna happen in the end?
Looking at that and seeing how we as a committee feel that it could be, shall I say, upgraded to cover our concerns and purpose,
So suggestions of changes in
which,
zoning regulations to
right,
better
right,
do preserve trees during
right.
new construction, remodeling, so some activities.
So-
You don't have to tell me what they are, but some set of activities.
So the objective that we had was to propose edits and or additions to the Town of Woodbridge Planning and Zoning Regulations Basic Standards. Specifically, we were looking at section 5.10 landscaping, which is the one where we found some of the information we were looking for, but not all of it is there.
Yeah.
So we were reviewing the definitions that currently exist right now. There's a lot of opportunity to add definitions, for things that
Yeah.
maybe didn't exist when they wrote it the
Right.
first time that,
Right.
exist now. For example, like the term climate change, right? Or like resiliency, adaptation, things like that, right? So I'm just giving those as examples.
Yep.
So to review those definitions, maybe strengthen the definitions or add clarification around them, kind of more in line with what we're seeing across the state, what we're seeing in other communities. It's in some cases it has to do with how conservation and development, how the relationship can really be strengthened between the two, and clarified so that when somebody buys a piece of property or they're looking looking to develop, they've got some better, or I don't want to say better, but they've got additional guidance to consider the natural resources that are already existing in that area. Would you agree? Am I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Then that's good objectives.
But we already have some that talks about improving the aesthetic appearance and function in town, and so looking at some of the other ways that we can enhance ecologic and economic property value. So it's really just wordsmithing and just strengthening stuff that we already have in existence. It's not we already have some of it, but the point is we can't go through and continue to make recommendations if we can't see what's there.
Right. No, understood. I imagine going through, besides the area you mentioned, and I don't know if this is in the first 5 chapters or someplace else, but I believe there's a section on site preparation that's worthwhile.
I believe there probably is.
Looking for language, and also you said landscaping, and there was it occurred to me, but
Yeah, so as we were
probably
going through it,
multiple sections that
right,
where it's gonna,
exactly. So as we were going through, we were looking at what the other sections are, and we couldn't find them.
Couldn't find them.
So
Yeah.
things
Okay.
that are
You don't know
relevant.
what you don't know, and
There's 2 sections on the website.
There are.
It says section 1, it says right there, it's 1 to 67, and sections 2, 68 to, I just looked it up on the phone, so there's 2 clumps. Like you said, they probably didn't have half, but it's up, 2020. That's a date.
so the comment is the document on the website is divided into 2 pieces.
Yeah, there's two things right there, it says section 1, section 2.
Okay.
And when you open it up, it's not the same document.
No, it starts, 1 is like the town symbol,
Yeah.
to 67 and 68 some yellow and.
Yeah, and I think it goes even further than that.
Further down.
Like the part 2 is
You
cut
see
off.
stuff?
Yes.
I'll check with Chris tomorrow on that. 'Cause
Yeah.
This is the first time, and, I work in the office there, that we've ever heard that.
Mm-hmm.
When we tell people to go on zoning, they never come back and say, it's missing things, so. That's the first time.
Probably
So
because
when
they're
the
like,
second
oh,
time-
good, it's missing things. But it's not there, moving right along, so.
So,
Very
excuse me,
good,
these are regulations
Yes.
and
Yes.
not, meaning how are they gonna be enforced through zoning?
They're the town's zoning regulations, and the TPZ commission has we have a land use officer that has enforcement
Right.
of the zoning regulations, but they are interpreted through, when an application is made by TPZ, Town Planning and Zoning Commission.
So,
So they enforce them in whether
So
they give
then-
permits, to approve a development or not, and then the zoning officer enforces them on the ground.
okay, will we also have a chance to look this over as well when it goes before TBZ?
Yeah,
Well,
so
our
like
committee-
there were some properties that we had been talking about. I don't know if it's Merritt Avenue, but we were able to review what their mock-ups were of how they plan to develop the parcels, and they shared that with us. And that we used the lens of the Conservation Commission to say, okay, we like this, we don't like that, and give our recommendations over to Planning and Zoning, so they're informed from our perspective. But
Right, well, we did that, but it didn't always have that kind of force behind it. Our committee didn't, so.
Yeah,
Right.
Our commission can only recommend.
Okay, that's.
TPZ can enforce. So if I'm gonna make up something, everybody knows, if we recommend to the Board of Selectmen that that they have TPZ revise the zoning regulations so that every new development, every house that's built, in the landscaping section, it says has to have an oak tree planted
Mhm.
in the front yard. Then TBZ, when they review the plans, will look to see a little curly Q circle that says oak tree. And if it's not there, they should say, we're not approving this, put in an oak tree. And that's what their job is, to know the zoning and make sure that the plans adhere to the zoning.
right.
It just seemed like as long as we have that information on a timely basis so that we can look at it and make sure that.
You're
we're not-
talking about when somebody who's developing a property
Mhm.
comes before TBZ, we should also look at it.
Yeah,
and-
right.
And just review it for those things that are important to the
Mm.
commission.
Yeah, but to
For
echo,
conservation
echo what you're
purposes.
saying, Bill, I think, we need a strengthening of our own process for our
right.
commission.
Right,
So that
we've talked about that,
We're
making
a
sure
little
that
more
we're not
effective
looking
and
at it
efficient.
Yeah.
all at the same time. We need to have that prior, have
Right.
a discussion about it, and then, make sure that TP&Z understands what our thoughts are and opinions about that.
Right,
Not at the same time, like we need to have
Yeah.
like a sequence of
Well-
events
Right.
going towards that.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
in doing that would call for vigilance on our part. Notices of what comes before TBZ is public knowledge. That is noticed the same way as our meetings are noticed, and their agendas are out there, so
They're gonna meet
we would
until
have
after
to
Christmas to discuss it.
that,
It would be a
That's-
timing
The
thing.
Republican
Yeah.
Zoning committee?
Didn't
I
we
think
also,
The
a
elected
few
board of
months ago,
selectmen,
get the
before
agreement
they
that
get
we
sworn
would be
in, we're gonna
notified
meet to
anytime
discuss
they,
it. And then make
a
the
project
decision,
comes?
and after they get
for subdivisions.
yes,
in the.
Yes,
vote on
and-
it, we're
and
gonna
it's
make
not for
I would,
private,
No, I think what Allison,
Right.
what I was just told was that
we have to still,
everybody's getting
We
sworn
could
in on the
ask
same day.
that department to
Like the
let us know
selectmen and the other
if there's other
commissions.
things that.
Oh, maybe
before
it's the day,
they-
like 2 days
or
before or
changes
something.
So that's why I was wondering, have you heard from the Republican Town Commission about being reappointed?
and it,
Or we could call
I
them
think
once a
they'll
month.
want to, but I don't know what's gonna happen, so.
No, sure, I'm getting.
I mean,
Yeah,
could,
saying,
we could.
we
can you
have
please
some
confirm
kind
that you're
of
still interested in?
Oh, no.
written down that
I've
we
already
will
talked
see
to them.
things
Okay, so
4
they know.
weeks or 6
Yeah.
weeks in advance. Can we put that, some sort of language into that so that we do have time? Because we only have one meeting and then they have one meeting, so sometimes we don't have that time to really analyze what's and the time to digest it and to think about it and to, I think, I would
I
like
think
to
this
see.
would be a great discussion to have with planning and zoning about how, you know, how we can move forward in lockstep together.
Yeah,
Well, the notices of what's going on with planning and zoning comes out of town staff. I mean, they receive the applications, they know what they are. They typically, when somebody has an application, it's noticed in one meeting, it's on the agenda as the receipt of new materials, new application. And so there's a brief discussion, and then typically it gets put to the next meeting to have a decision, if possible, on that. And there's a determination if there's public hearings and so forth. Those notices go out and they're public, and I think it has been the practice of the office, the zoning office, that, you know, they notify the public and any boards and commissions that are interested through normal process of, here's the notice of the agenda of the meeting, these are the items that are going to be discussed. So people should be paying attention if they're interested. They just need to look. And it's, you know, a special notice to this person for this and this person for this is just not what they've done in the past. Doesn't mean it can't be changed. It's just not what's been done in the past. So we have to, you know, see if there's something after we go through this process that we, you know, we end up with such a special interest in, and that we don't want to leave it only in the hands of TBZ, that we figure out how we get better involved.
yes.
I think
Okay.
maybe we could leave it at
So-
that.
That's all of our updates on the tree
Okay.
preservation ordinance.
So just
Yeah,
one,
well, I just wanted to make something really clear that in looking at all of this and around the states and so forth, we felt that it would be better or just as well to try to work with the regs that are in existence rather than come up with a whole new ordinance.
Yeah.
We think we can accomplish
Yeah,
what we want with the regs, which makes it much easier.
yeah, I mean, and that's a good thing to have come to a conclusion on, because not where we necessarily started, but that's a
I
good
mean,
realization, so
talking
I'm
about
happy.
the ordinance
And
really
I think
included
that makes some sense.
talking about.
And, you know, when we get those, you know, we can perhaps, you know, seek to not only make that recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, but, you know, explain ourselves to the TPZ.
If that doesn't work,
That
and
might be a good thing,
we can try to do an ordinance, but
yeah.
there might not be any trees left.
Yeah. Okay, my last question was, do you have any anticipation after we get the documents, how much time we need to go through, you're gonna need to go through them?
Well, I don't know how many documents there are, so,
Well, we know there's more than 5 chapters, right? Yeah, you're gonna have to know which chapters to look in, you have to figure that out, so it's gonna take some digging in there, but then it seems like you have a lot of work done on what you think it should say, so it's just editing.
for the
yeah.
things that we've already seen,
Yeah,
for the areas that we haven't seen, that's what I'm saying, that's sort of the unknown.
Yeah,
So,
right.
it's one thing to have edits, you know, and recommendations and suggestions in there, it's another thing to have it, you know, finalized, you know, stamp of approval
yeah,
by P and Z, so I
yeah.
can't.
Well, it sounds like, well, we might be able to get the document pretty quick here, so.
I can promise you I will not be reading it over the holiday break.
No, no, and I wouldn't expect you to,
But,
but,
yeah, I would think like January and February is a pretty good time. Whatever, you know, is falling in line with P and Z, I think it's important that as we're creating these edits and recommendations, that we're talking with them along the way to say, these are our suggestions and how do they feel about it.
Maybe would it make any sense when you guys get the new regs or the changed TP&Z regs, and then maybe a subcommittee meet with the part of the TP&Z and to sort of just get a beginning feeling for the.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that might be the good next discussion.
We could seek,
Without a whole
seek
group
that.
of us. What?
We could seek that once we sort of have it together. We could, ask to
Active
sit down and get
discussion.
some feedback. Just, ahead of
Yeah.
sending it on
Subcommittees, so
to
it
any
isn't-
place.
so it
And
doesn't take
that's a
our
very
whole-
reasonable thing to do.
I would think it would be subcommittees versus the whole commission, because to take our whole
Oh,
meeting.
yeah,
and
no,
take the whole meeting.
I would, well,
Okay.
I think we have a
Yeah.
subcommittee
Okay.
but, to ask TBZ
For a subcommittee
for
of
one
others.
or two people just to review it and give feedback. That would be reasonable.
The chairman.
Okay. February 15th is our perhaps meeting in February. We haven't voted on yet, but, well, actually we did. We voted on that one, so that's scheduled. You see getting through that for that meeting, just to this group, not with TBZ yet, just to get,
The 15th of February?
yeah.
Yeah, as long as we've got,
As long as we've got the
Yeah,
document.
right, okay. Well, we'll work that out over the next days before we all disappear for the holiday.
that would be great.
Good, thank you all. That's good discussion, and I think it'll set us on our way. Barbara, I guess you get to talk again. The next item, the WCC initiatives.
I have somewhat the same comment to make. There has been no progress with the signage for the trails, mostly because Don Menzies, who's on the committee from the Historical Society, had his hip replaced and now he's in Scotland. I personally have, this doesn't need to be something for the whole committee, but I talked with one of the people that we had said we needed to talk
Yeah.
to, and they came up with some incredible indigenous people sites that I have never even heard of, and I don't think anybody else has even heard of, but they're right along the trails.
Wonderful.
So,
Wonderful.
they're looking further, getting more,
Okay.
clarification on exactly what and where they are, and
Okay.
will get back to me quickly.
All right. So how do we feel like we've lost momentum on this?
How do we get it going
How do we
again?
get momentum started again?
Well, I keep hoping that the new year will bring some momentum after this crazy year.
Certainly, you've talked to one person. Do you have more people to talk to on your
Oh,
list?
yeah.
Did you,
There are many more.
did the three of you divide that up somehow?
Not
talking to-
particularly, it seems to be just sort of when we see who. But I will push it, and I'm not sure about the designer, because the designer resigned
Yeah.
from the Historical Society, so I'm
Oh,
not sure.
before we jump over the designer, I guess it's Don that's tough to understand if he's able to, work forward on this while he is in his other location right now.
Well, I can find out when he's coming back, because they don't stay there permanently. So
Yeah.
it should be in January, I would think he'd be
Yeah,
coming back.
that would be helpful.
And
But I would think even, he made comments that while he was there, he could talk to some people, I had thought. And do you know if Muffy is also talking to people?
I'll ask her what she's doing.
Because, this is gonna be a living thing, we're gonna evolve, so if yourself and Muffy can talk to the few people you have left, then maybe we can tie a bow around that and just say that's it. When Don comes back, if he adds something, he adds something, but we we don't want to have too many because it's going to just make it too hard to implement, so, in this first iteration. So it would be good if we can get you, Muffy, to talk to the few people who are available, and the few of you are available, and maybe that'll tie that up. On the designer, Muffy did agree to talk to her and see if she's still willing to
What you
participate.
did, okay. I
So,
haven't heard.
would you follow up on that with her and see if she, just as you talk to her more than I do, and you can cover both items in one go. Was this presented to at the AWHS meeting a few weeks ago? The project?
Oh, a few meetings, several meetings, I mean.
I don't know how often
we-
they
Bless
meet.
you.
Reporting the progress every month. I
Okay.
don't know whether it happened last month, because I wasn't at the meeting,
The month before it was a topic, though?
but, yeah.
I mean, how has it been received?
Oh, people are delighted with it. Oh, they think the whole thing is
Okay.
very good.
Anybody else want to get involved?
And nobody said so.
Okay.
Everybody's stretched pretty thin.
Okay. All right.
Let's see if we can
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
a positive
One-
reaction from
Maybe-
Rebecca, and then we can just move forward.
Yeah, that, because if she's willing, then we'll go according to her schedule. And, maybe we're done until the end of the year, but I guess I would understand that. But let's see if we, it is only, the 12th today? 14th? I'm already, okay, so, there's next week, I guess, essentially, but, if you can get those answers from Muffy and then see if Rebecca could be involved, maybe right after the first year, we can get our momentum back again. And then what date Don's back? Great. We talked about tree preservation, nothing new on the Audubon. The WCC, Diane, I don't think you were here last. That's going to take place in the spring, that assessment. So that's just waiting for warm weather
Perfect.
and birds and blooming of trees, I think. The WCC items of interest. Anybody? I don't think we have any updates there per se.
On the pollinator pathway,
Yeah, the last meeting, we had decided to revisit that the first of the year, after the new year.
so I sent you, prior to the last meeting, I sent you an update that I talked to the Boy Scout groups, the 3 Boy Scout groups.
Yep.
The Boy Scouts at the Assumption Church were interested. The troop at the Congregational Church was interested. Spoke to the person at B'nai Jacobs, and he was going to take it up at their next meeting to see who was interested. The group at B'nai Jacobs is a smaller troop than the other troops,
Mhm.
and so they might possibly do it as a joint project with another troop.
Okay.
The project could be a troop project, it could be a joint troop project between multiple
That's it.
troops.
I think
Or it
that's a
could
nice
also
idea.
could be Eagle Scout project too.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's great.
So
Okay.
I'm still waiting to hear back from the guy from B'nai Jacobs from that
Okay.
troop. And he was gonna get back to me after they had their meeting.
Good.
So there's a lot of interest.
Would you send me the contact information for Troop 41 for B'nai Jacob?
Yep, the guy's
So
name
could-
is,
No, you don't have to, we can just send it offline.
okay,
It's just a contact that I hadn't been able to get yet, so if you were able to dig that up, it'd be helpful.
okay.
Well, I guess this is an appropriate time to say it. We are reaching out to the Boy Scout troops, and that includes, in case of B'nai Jacob, a boys unit and a girls' unit.
I guess they call them scouts now, not Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, just scouts.
Yes.
Okay. This is an evolution and a learning, because the terminology has changed. Okay, so there's the scout troops. Is that for every troop?
I think so, it's new to me,
Yes.
so that was what I was told, yeah. They're called scouts now.
Okay, good to know. So we're attempting to get the scout troops each to adopt one of the Greenway Trail sections as their own, and that would mean that they would just commit to walking it a few times a year, and doing, especially in the spring, where they could be the eyes on trail and help with the stewardship of that particular section of the greenway and open space, to make sure it's clear, report any problems, do some cleanup to the extent of they can, don't need power tools and so forth. And this is something I've been told that was in place at one time in Woodbridge, but just fell away for whatever reason, maybe when the trail master, there was a gap in the trail masters. And so we're trying to reestablish that. That'll take some time.
Tim, who's a we?
The group I've talked about before, the town trail stewards,
The town.
the group.
So just to finish the thought on the pollinator pathway, I think the
Yeah.
path forward would be for, I could take the lead in terms of putting together a scope of what the project would look like, put together a few PowerPoint slides, to scope it out.
Yeah.
I could present it to the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
It would be nice if the Conservation Commission could endorse it and appoint somebody as the subcommittee person to work on it. And we could have a meeting with the Boy Scout troops that were interested, the Land Trust, and the Garden Club to kind of coordinate how this would all work together.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, we decide which group was going to go forward, which troop was going to go forward, and ask them to make a presentation to the Board of Selectmen to get approval to do it, to basically apply for the grants.
Mhm.
So the scout troop would apply, the scout, either the Eagle Scout or the troop itself would work with the Land Trust on the application for the NRCS grant, but the grant would actually be granted to the Land Trust. So some coordination between the
Yeah.
groups. So I think that would be the path forward to start to make progress on it.
Okay.
So you've talked to the Land Trust and they're willing to be the people who hold the grant?
They are interested in it, yes.
That's great.
So I talked to them back in September. Maybe it was in August,
All right,
sometime ago.
good.
That's a good plan.
Are we still on other initiatives? I just want to bring up one. I wanted to just bring up the CUPOP evaluation that they're doing, the assessment of the different properties. There are 3 properties that they are considering proposing use change for, and they have asked for feedback from our commission on their recommendations. So the 3 that they're looking at making the recommendation on the change for is 9 Brookwood Drive, 38 Milan Road, and 31 Enoch Drive. And
What
they
was the name, what was the number on Milan?
38 Milan Road, 31
Milan.
Enoch Drive, Milan, yeah. 31 Enoch Drive and 9 Brookwood Drive. And they are specifically looking for feedback from our commission on their recommendation.
How big are these properties? Are they just?
I do not have the
No.
details on that, but I can
Well-
reach out to the commission and get
Yeah.
more
Uh,
details on that and circulate to everybody so we can have a chance to
I'm
review.
familiar with
So-
Brookwood and,
Or we can go right to that GIS map, right?
I looked at
Honey,
them this
I want it all.
afternoon.
So,
I looked at them this afternoon, so I'm familiar with Brookwood and Milan, but I don't know what the Enoch
Yeah.
one.
Right.
So let me,
Wasn't aware of that one.
let me address that. Coupop is looking doing a review in each and every single town property and whether they should make a recommendation on change of use.
What did you say?
What does change of use mean? What is that?
So, like if it's classified as open recreation and they're saying, oh, we should change the use of what that, I'm just making that one up. I'm not saying that that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
But, you know, for whatever properties we have, I think they have 3 categories that they have, bucketed all of the properties into.
There are 4 categories by ordinance.
4 categories by ordinance.
There are no official designations of use.
What is their objective? What are they trying to, what are they trying to accomplish?
They were asked to go through and review all of the publicly owned properties by the town to review what the use is and to ensure that they're being categorized under the correct use.
So what's the
Well-
purpose of that? I mean, I guess just to be direct, what's the ultimate goal?
To review and see if, I think there were ones that were in there that were like categorized incorrectly. And so
Like
it's,
open space, we
Well-
really wanna have a
well,
playground, so it's
yeah,
not
well,
open space, that kind of.
yes,
Well,
you know, it could be something like that.
We're conflating 2 things right there. They did an exercise to the first part of what they did was to make sure that each of the town-owned properties was properly classified into the category 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I can read the definitions again.
Properly
We've talked
meaning that
properly.
it was what it is,
So-
whatever it is. Yeah, I don't need the definitions, but are you saying when you're properly, you mean that it reflects what really is going on with that property?
Right.
No. So category 1, which should be all town-owned properties that are dedicated to open space or other use under the terms of grants and aid conditions.
Under the terms of what?
Grants and aid,
What does that mean?
so a grant and aid is dollars that the town receives
Oh, got it.
from the federal or the
Like-
state
Like HUD, like we were talking about.
Yeah,
to acquire the property. So there were properties, when they reviewed the list, there were properties in that category that didn't receive a grant and aid. It
so
was
they weren't as
miss,
restricted as they had thought they would be.
right. There were other properties that should have been in there. I'm sort of making that
Okay.
up, but that happened. I can't remember which way it went, but
Oh.
there were properties that had to be reclassified, and that happened through at least 3 of the categories that I remember, and so they straightened all that out. So the first one is pretty clear. They're pretty much all open space. You got the grants and it's open space.
Mm-hmm.
So can't really change the use very much. And so in the second effort, Diana said they were asked, it's not only they were asked, but there are charter calls on them from time to time, I think is the language, to review the properties for potential change in uses. Language very close to that.
And right now they're looking at category 3.
Right,
So
so.
explain to me-
Category.
Explain, Tim, what is, when they do a change of use of, what does that mean? I don't understand
Well,
what that means.
Can you
Well,
read what the
I'm
categories?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
So Paul, so just hang on to that question, and Diana, I didn't
Yeah,
quite hear
I
you.
was just gonna say, can you read what the other categories are, just so
Sure.
everybody understands
Sure.
what they're looking at right now?
So category 1, we're good on grants and aid. Category 2 was town-owned property, the use of which are now under the direction of an existing commission or other agency of the town. So some of the parks in town are under the Recreation
Park and
Commission.
Rec, right.
Some of the buildings are police department, police commission, however they said it. So those are clear?
Mm-hmm.
So those, I'm gonna stop and editorialize a little bit. Those in category 2, the use is pretty clear for those properties. And so the town-owned land, the police department sits on, well, let me use a different example, because that's a complex site. but, so where we have the transfer station, that's a pretty clear use.
Right.
It's
Okay.
like the baseball field.
Yeah, well, there's a baseball
there
field there,
playground?
it's a mixed use,
Just kidding, go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, so,
Helpful to
category 3
help them.
includes all town property, the uses of which are not under the direction of an existing commission or agency.
Mhm.
And category 4 is somewhat of an oddball because it includes land or buildings to which the town has the option to purchase or the right of first refusal. So they're not
Which is like that
proper-
example of that property from the
Forest-
state.
Forest
we
Road.
Made that recommendation on before.
Right. So, those aren't really truly town-owned right now. But they could,
Right, but the
they
category
could.
3 ones,
The category 3,
that's the one they're reviewing right
they're,
now.
they're reviewing all of them.
Right, and so
And
those are
those
the 3
three that you
properties.
mentioned
Right,
fall into category 3. So, those categories, those parcels of land, right now, I was gonna say they don't have an identified use, but some of them do. A couple of them are restricted and say they can, if they're built on, they can only be a one-family house, for instance.
Right.
But, so there are some restrictions on some of those properties. But essentially what they're doing is saying, looking at a property, trying to understand whether it has could have another use for the town, should be sold, is one possibility. Maybe it'd be able to used for some type of housing. And you know, there are some properties of town-owned land that even though there's no official use for it, we know it's used for the greenway. So we have that identified. So does that kind of sum up what Coopop's doing before I make my next statement addressing what Diana brought up?
Why are they doing this? What's the objective?
I cannot answer
Other than to
that
create a list,
question.
what are they trying to do?
I cannot answer that question. I do not understand.
that is, I think, just their
The law.
task, is that they're supposed to review the list
Yeah,
every
they-
so often, look at the categories, make sure everything is categorized correctly, review how everything is, and if there's a
and
recommendation.
recommend change in use if they perceive there should be the change of use.
Let's say there's a house that's built on a property that is dilapidated and needs to come down, and they're gonna turn around and say, you know what, I think this should be, it's close enough to the greenway trails, we should recategorize this as open space. It's got, and it's our opportunity to weigh in and say, okay, well, this is significant to the Conservation Commission for these reasons, and this is our recommendation with the change of use.
Right, exactly. That's our role.
So,
I just want to make a comment about time. I have to leave in a little bit because so I don't know if we want to continue this discussion or if we want
No.
to get to something else, because I know you.
we do want to get to something else, and I think it'll be fairly quick. I'll do a segment I think we can do all at once. But I did want to address what Diana brought up on the 3 properties. In doing this review of all the properties, they are asking other commissions to weigh in. Each and every property.
Right, that's what Diana said.
Yeah, they're reaching out to the wetlands on one of those properties because there are a lot of wetlands on it. What I've told them for the Conservation Commission is that we ourselves are doing a review of properties worthy of preservation, and that we, as we go through our list, and what we're starting to review tonight is very close and matched to the category 3, and we'll hit all 3 of those properties, and then be able to comment on each of the ones as they go through them. We will have that opportunity to comment as they go through. If they recommend something to the Board of Selectmen, we will also have an opportunity with the Board of Selectmen to make any recommendation we want for the
Tim, did
property.
they tell you when they need our recommendations by? Is it by their January meeting?
I think they would take them as they come to each property.
When are they coming to
So-
the first property?
I'm saying to these three
So-
properties they're already at and reviewing, have they told
and
you what the deadline is?
They've already made some decisions on on a couple of properties. So these aren't there are 3 properties on Brook Road. I think they decided already on 2. They started with those because they're restricted to single-family residents. So as, the sooner we finish our list, we'll be able to comment back. As I attend those meetings, I comment to the extent I can, but I can't speak for the commission. I'm waiting that we go through here.
Right, so
and
I
then-
think they're asking for our comments for their next meeting.
Yeah, and I
So-
told them they wouldn't have it unless we finished.
So I'm
they already,
wondering,
they're already noted that they won't have them.
In the sense of urgency, does it make sense to prioritize these 3 properties first to review as a commission, so we can, again, be in lockstep with another commission's work? So we
Well,
don't miss the opportunity
they-
to comment
They-
before
they-
recommendations made?
They have category 3 as dozens of properties.
Yes.
It's gonna take them a long time to get through those properties, so I think we'll have plenty of time to give them recommendations.
Seems like it makes sense though, if they're looking for 3,
I-
we start with those 3 so that we can get those 2.
And they're specifically asking us for
and-
input on
Yeah,
those 3.
And that's help explain why I had a goal to try to finish by the end of the year,
Okay, then
so we
let's
can
go
make the
for it.
recommendations.
Because I think we're.
But I
spending
think
a lot of time
having the context of what's going on with the other commissions
Yeah.
gives us some
I-
other, lens
I-
to look at the properties
I-
at as well.
I have been giving them a good
But
sense.
you haven't been giving.
But you haven't been
us.
giving us the opportunity to weigh in on that too.
That we've been going through the properties where the
But you haven't
recommendations.
given us the context that they want, Coopop wants us to be doing.
Right.
That's your
I-
responsibility, is to give us information
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Coopop, not just Coopop information
I
from
think I've
us.
talked about Coopop going through this process.
But, okay, my point is that there have been communications recently that
I
they've
know
got these
Nicole
properties.
wanted to know what the Conservation Commission thought, and I told her, we are on our timeline, and when we
But
finish,
you need
we'll
us
be
to
able to
all
get it.
decide
But
that.
as a
It's
commission,
not
we
just
should
you
be able to
deciding.
determine, right?
I could not tell her anything different
You can tell
because
us that we have an urgency from
I-
Coopop, can we speed this up?
I've tried to, well, I'm not gonna respond just to what Coopop needs. It's,
Well,
it,
I mean,
it,
so
responsive
it,
to other commissions.
then how are we going to expect another commission to respond to what we need? If we're turning around to P and Z and saying, this is an urgency, this is a priority for us, and we turn around to every other committee and we say, we'll get to you when we're ready, but your priorities are not ours, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
we're going around in a vicious circle, and,
Well,
and
I-
we're doing,
this meeting-
we're spinning our wheels.
that happened on the 12th, on the
Of
day of,
You're
This-
talking about the Coopop meeting?
we had a Coupon meeting just on the 12th,
Mm-hmm.
and I said we would be reviewing these at
Well,
this
I
meeting.
And
Even
the
it was
requests from
minutes.
Coopop have been coming from, what, September, October, November?
Not that long.
They have been. And I think as a committee, we
Okay.
need to be informed of that so that we can decide as a committee how we prioritize the work that we're doing so that we don't get left behind on certain decisions. That would be my request.
Okay, we can look at all those properties.
But it's now 15 minutes before the meeting should end, so can we switch to that?
I think this was the end, if no one else has a member comment.
No, I appreciate that we discussed it. Thank you.
No, I think we need to move on, because I
Yeah.
want to be
Well-
involved and I have to go.
Did someone get the lights up there for me?
Bolt just fell off my chair.
So I don't understand why you update this list, but we didn't do it in this, but
Well, I mean, if there's changes, then it reflects the changes.
What does that do? Puts in the file cabinet.
It depends. Is it a property that they then recommend or we could develop? I mean, they're-
So
Right.
who's doing that? Cause I do have to leave, I just wanna say,
Let me see your plan. Yeah.
Then there should be
Happy New
some
Year.
the rules when you're looking at yonder. The paint. Back before that. So if we don't. When they say,
Right,
it's like the Merritt Avenue. The road from there.
right.
Tim, I'd like to just make one comment, that in future, if we have work sessions, that we don't save it till the last item. Okay, cause it feels like our energy's dissipated and some of these things were not a priority and this seems to be a priority to you, which I think it is, but we're starting it awfully late.
Well, I'll note that, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, is that visible from there, Diana?
Yeah.
You can get that? Okay. These are from the Coupop list, and you see the category number 3. What I've done is I've used the filters to filter to category 3. I've also filtered the ones that I thought were worthy of preservation. And you remember, I had pre-selected some items, a couple of different categories. I put my initials in yes if they're ones I thought we should talk about. If I thought they were yes. I put my initials in no if I thought they should be no. These were yeses because they were one of a couple things. Either the land trust had a conservation restriction on them.
Is that what YWLT is?
Yeah. So this is a restricted use from the land trust, all of these.
There should be not
And-
31.
And I also use yes when it was part of our greenway. So those are all over here. So my sense is we can,
So 31 Enoch Drive.
I'm
right
hoping
there,
we
it's
can
greenway
approve these
construction.
all at one swag, more or less, without going into the details. And I'm just scrolling over because, this property, for instance, has a conservation restriction. It's not land trust. Alright, but where it's greenway, I think, it's pretty obvious it should be a yes. That's good. Let me,
Yeah.
and let me see if there's anything else. There's a couple down here for Knoll's Pond.
So 31 Enoch, that's the one we were just talking about, right?
Yes, it is.
Does that goes over and it says Greenway Greenway connection?
Can you show us how much land there is? Can you open up that filter again?
Yeah,
Tim, so we can
yeah,
see
right.
that?
I can. 6.22.
Is it on Woodside?
Okay.
Brookwood.
Um,
What did you say?
Yeah.
I was about to comment on the Knoll's Pond,
38.
because I think that's just the little slices within the pond itself. And I think that should be pretty obvious
Oh
that
my God, I'm getting
that's
sick.
a natural resource we want retained.
Dirty little kids.
See, Tim, if they want feedback on those 3 properties, why don't we take a quick look at them on
Okay.
GIS?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay.
I don't wanna take you off your track, but maybe that would be helpful.
Well, yeah, let me try to stay on the track, so just, are these, you know, if you agree with the logic that things that are protected by the land trust, things that are on the greenway, and then the Canolds Pond, then,
What else is there?
and the only other one here is this one, which I think you'll recognize the address. And that's the Country
That's
Club of
Country
Woodbridge.
Club.
Okay.
And then the one above it is a little slice, that's between Woodfield Road and the Parkway.
Yeah, I can't read what those say, but I assume they say yes, they're worthy of preservation.
Yes, so what I did is I filter this, the ones, because of those reasons, the Greenway, Land Trust, Canolds Pond, and the Country Club, I felt comfortable saying these are worthy of preservation, and I was hoping to save time, get Sharon off to her, out of here tonight, that we could just say, yeah, these are worthy of preservation, in the way we've been looking at things. Once, and we don't have to drill down into the particulars. If we want to, for ones that are immediately before Coopop, we can do that.
I would agree with that.
I would
I would agree with that logic.
So, Tim, are there others that you don't have up here
Yes, yes.
that you will also look at?
What's the
We
yellow?
will also look at what, I thought we could do this as
It's
a
just
bunch.
en masse.
And then we can look at the 3 properties, make sure we covered, because I don't remember where those.
There's
the-
31 Enoch right there.
Yeah, that's that one.
What is-
the yellow? What's the yellow?
The yellow is, I didn't know, I have to figure out whether they're town managed or not.
Oh,
And they are, the 31 and 25 are town managed. I've come to know that since I did this, so those are,
they're town managed, but they're not under any particular department. Is that
That's
what
right.
you're saying?
Well, the
That's right.
Y means that they're restricted, they have a conservation easement? What does that Y mean?
You know,
Town managed, that's what you're looking for down.
yeah, that's why I can't do 2 things at once. Why are the Ys here? They're restricted, in the case of 31 Enoch, they're restricted because it was acquired as open space. That I know.
So then that's
And the
obvious.
25, I believe,
Wait,
was
so
the same thing.
So
So
that's
if
the
it's-
answer for 31.
That's
Yeah.
the end, same answer.
that's the end
Yes,
of the
course.
discussion.
There's no
That's what I
question.
told them this past, on the
Okay, well,
14th,
we need
Tuesday.
to know that that's what you
Well,
told. But okay, so then
it just
we don't.
happened, Sharon. This is,
So,
all right, so if we, is everybody comfortable that these are yeses and we're done with these
Mhm.
properties?
Well, the only
I don't
is-
think 31 is restricted though, right? Isn't that residential?
31 Enoch Drive was acquired to be open space. There's,
what, restricted open space
So
or
is-
just
So-
open space?
It was acquired with open space funds, you're saying, so therefore it is restricted.
it was the, I don't have the letter with me, I didn't bring it with me.
Maybe
the
that,
deed?
It was a letter from Roger Harrison to TPZ, seeking some information, talked about the state regulation under which they had the authority and the bonding, the open space bonding, and they were planning to acquire this property as open space. It's a plain and simple statement that it was acquired for open space with funds that were bonded by the town to be open space funds.
but then, so wouldn't they have categorized it into the other category that's like the grant?
That's not a grant and aid,
It's not?
no,
No.
because it was town funds paying for bonds to acquire open space.
Okay.
That's not
But it's-
from the state or the
Those are
federal
the
government.
deeds.
Is it open space that is restricted for conservation, or is it open space that the town can turn around and sell, like the, or do whatever they want to with it, like the Fitzgerald
Well,
crop?
the Fitzgerald as far as I know, was not acquired with the stated intention.
I'm asking about the word open space. Open space, in general, the designation, they can do whatever they want to with it, it's
Well,
open space,
well, yeah, there's a,
so.
Can-
it's maybe the difference between a lowercase o and an uppercase o.
So is this uppercase
It-
O?
This is uppercase.
Okay, so then
Can
we
I,
don't
can I
need
make a
this.
recommendation? I feel like we're putting the puzzle pieces together and we're missing a few. That's gonna tell us a little more of the story. And so I wonder if Coopop already has a file on these 3 properties that they're looking at, and they've written a letter on it, if that gives us more information about the whole picture with that property, would help us better inform our decision on what the recommendation is that we wanna make. So, do you think maybe after this, we can just reach out to them and get the information about the property, so we can be informed about it?
I think we're pretty informed. It was required to be open space. That's all we need
Well, in
to
this
make our
particular
decision, I
one,
think.
It's just a cut and dry situation, you're saying, it's open space, that's what we need to tell Coopop,
Yeah.
it's not open for them to do anything else with. That's what you're saying, basically.
And that's what I
So-
told them on Tuesday.
So let me ask you, when Coopop researches a property or reviews a property, do they have that historical background that it was purchased with open space funds?
No, I read them a letter on Tuesday.
So they did know.
So,
They didn't know.
so there's no
Okay.
deed, it's not in the deed that it's gonna be open space.
It's not in the deed,
Oh.
but it was
Okay.
purchased with that intention.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
But,
And
but why
now,
wouldn't it?
whether that will
He's wrong.
affect
He's wrong.
what the recommendation they're gonna make, I don't know.
Well, it
But-
should.
Yeah, Tim, if it was purchased with that objective, why wouldn't that have been in the deed specified?
Oh, really?
Would have just been an easy,
Because the
it's-
people who did it at the time didn't see a necessity to put it in the deed. Not,
It was an oversight, let's say.
I'm not even saying it was an oversight, I don't know that they just thought it was a necessity. Because I think at that time, there was maybe a deeper appreciation for open space. And they, in that time period, acquired a lot of open space. And they thought by saying we're acquiring open space, that was
Enough.
gonna preserve the land.
oh, I don't think that's gonna work.
That's,
So we know that's not, hasn't happened, maybe, that the protections need to be there. Same way we have the easement up 124 Seaman, we always thought, walking it for decades, but it's not in the deed.
but that's my point. It is not restricted, it is not conserved.
It's not deed restricted,
Okay.
but
Then that
there's a
doesn't really
clear
mean anything.
statement
Of
from the,
intention.
from the first selectman, and the board of selectmen voted to acquire the used open space fund, bonding funds, and it was required to be open space.
So should we recommend that it's put in the
And
deed
that-
Was it,
now?
didn't Tony Genovese weigh in on that, though? Didn't he make a statement to Coopop saying the opposite of that? About that property? That's why I'm saying, I
No,
feel
no,
like we have
what-
puzzle
what it-
pieces here,
What
and we need
Diana.
all of them.
Diana, what he said was it was not acquired with grants and aid funding. That's different. The subtlety
Mm,
was maybe lost on Coopop, but
Mm.
they asked him, and it was reported at the meeting, and Nicole quoted what he said, but it was about grants and aid.
Okay,
So there should be an easement added to the title to the property, right? Is what you're saying?
It probably should be done, yes.
so then that should be our recommendation.
It's not an easement, but
it's a deed restriction,
Deed
With deed
and
restriction,
they record it, yeah.
conservation easement.
Conservation restriction.
so we'll go back.
So that's our, so 31 Enoch done.
And we're done with all these, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is,
I have one
Greenway,
question.
if they're-
Why is 100 Center Road and 151 Center Road rec and multi? Is that the
What-
Fitzgerald property?
oh yeah, these are Coopop notes. There's a multi-owner record, when you go in the land records, it says multi-owner, so it's not as easy to look up. So this covers a lot of the town properties.
Yeah, that little map that I keep talking about shows, I mean, the GIS on that map shows that the Woodbridge Country Club is multi-owned.
Yeah, because the reason for that is there's a radio tower on it.
Oh, is that what it is?
Okay, so this is what I intended to cover, but we'll look at those other two properties if, so let me undo this. I'm sorry, I gotta look down here. Okay, Brookwood we're looking for? Diana?
9 Brookwood, yes.
Not 45?
Didn't you say it was 9?
Yeah.
The one I looked
9
at,
Brookwood?
It's
the
down
one I looked
lower.
at, I thought was 45. It's the one at the end of the street. Maybe I looked at the wrong
Here
one.
they are.
There's one right there.
They're here.
There it is, yeah.
Go down to
Okay.
the third one.
9 Brookwood.
Isn't there one at the end of the street though, too?
Yeah.
Which is,
So I'm gonna go over to the GIS system.
trying to look at it.
This is, they're all on Brookwood, so this will be
I've got
easy to find. 9.
31 Enoch and 9 Brookwood.
Oh, okay.
Let's see, they're on
Milan.
38 Milan. Why do you say Milan?
Because that's how you say it.
That's how you say it?
Yeah, I lived in Woodbridge my entire life. It's Milan Road, not Milan.
And 9 Brookwood.
It's the corner of,
It's showing up.
it's a
I don't
corner
know,
of
but
some other street. I'm not sure what it is. I looked at a GIS today.
That's
Okay.
9 Brookwood.
It's like a corner lot.
Right. So the other Brookwood property is all wetlands.
Okay, that's
So
easy.
those should be, no question.
Okay,
And then 9 probably has a buildable lot on it, and it has a restriction of a single-family residence. Just
okay.
we talked about.
So we're saying that we can't change that it would be a single-family residence, but it's not capable of being anything else because of the restrictions of the wetlands.
Well,
It's only,
I guess it could just be open space,
Okay,
right?
so we could
Yeah,
recommend that because there's so much wetlands, it's a good
Yeah.
place to keep open space.
it's only 1.8 acres?
1.83 acres.
So it can't, it doesn't have anything more, ability to do anything more than the one family anyway.
Yeah, right.
And majority of it is wetlands.
And yeah, you wanna say 50%, maybe a little more
Yeah,
than 50%. So, you know,
You're not great
they were
buildable
still
lot.
entertaining whether, you know, what to recommend on that one.
Well, I think we recommend that it's great to have contiguous areas with wetlands that are preserved because that's great habitat.
It is great habitat, and it also will protect some of the other areas from flooding,
Right.
right? By
Right.
having that.
Okay, so what's the next one? Milan Drive?
38 Milan,
Milan.
that is Milan.
I believe you. I just have friends who lived there my whole life. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. I'm just wrong.
You are, totally.
I believe it. I believe it. How are you saying it?
Milan.
Milan. I don't know.
M-I.
I'm gonna have to ask Jane.
Seriously.
Here's the lot in the red. This is 1.39 acres.
What does the dotted green and the dotted blue line mean?
The
The,
dotted green is the
Gas.
gas line.
Mm.
And the dotted
I-
blue.
in this case,
It's a river, probably wetlands.
this is
Oh,
some type of,
that's the one right
stream.
by Race Brook. Is that right?
No,
No.
it's up by
No.
Northwood.
so this is off Northrop.
Ah.
It's off
Just a
Race
little more
Brook,
context.
hill and-
No, no, no. I know. Yeah.
So here's Milan. There's Northrop.
What's the
That's
side
not.
street?
That's 91 Northrop right there.
So if I go over a little more, Milan goes down to Racebrook.
That's
Road
Racebrook,
here.
okay, yeah.
Which is the piece of property?
It's, oh, I lost it. Oops.
The second one
No,
in.
it's right over there.
Second one towards Race.
Isn't it
No,
right
the
here?
second one in from Norfolk.
This one?
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah. So that's
Oh, it's
it
on,
there.
okay. All right.
What's the history? How did the town wind up owning that property?
It could have been a subdivision.
So, was
This-
there a regulation at some point where a developer had to turn a certain amount of land over to the town?
It could, we have that,
10%.
we have that now.
I know we have that now, but that land is protected
We don't
when
know.
it's done, but why
We
would?
don't know.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
don't,
Yeah,
what's
this-
the history?
This
there?
might have been taxes, I don't know.
we don't know.
I
It
didn't know
seems
that was
unlikely.
true, I mean, it's right
Yeah,
next to me.
I
Well,
mean, if it
even
was
though that
taxes,
was-
somebody would have sold it.
let me see if there's a note on the spreadsheet.
Huh.
Oops, did I spell that right? No, I mistyped it.
Cause I put the wetlands on it, and I didn't see any wetlands
Yeah.
on the property either. I was
Yeah,
trying to
it's
figure
a-
out
it-
why.
I guess it was a lot, and it's single family, you know, I don't know.
Coopop will be glad to know that we don't have too much need for that.
So, do we have,
I'd like to know what the history is, how the town wound up owning it, cause it seems very suspicious that they would own a rectangular lot without any wetlands or any other, issues with it, that the
Why
town
was it
just wound up
surrendered?
owning it. I mean, there must be
It
some
doesn't have
history
anything
to
on
it.
it, it's just a piece of wood.
here's
Yeah,
the,
but how did the town ever wind up owning that?
That's what I'm saying,
I mean-
there's no reason for them to own a particular.
Well, what's the history? There must have been some reason, like there was a subdivision and the
It wasn't,
developer had to turn over,
no, but
part
that's
of it, or-
way more than they'd have
Yeah.
to turn over.
Well,
I don't know.
We don't
just-
know if they had a whole lot of property they were subdividing and
what you'd have to do, Paul,
they
is
put all
to,
of their
sort of
10%
work your
in
way
one.
back.
Right, I
One.
mean, I'm not sure how that,
It's-
the other side of the street, I know how.
Unless, well, if there's,
Just wanna-
if the gas lines are there, could that have been owned by
The gas line is
another?
the gas line
There's
is
someone
across
just
the
a
street, way
little bit,
far.
out.
little corner of it.
There's no
Well, I don't
gas
think
line
that
at
we-
that point
I
at
mean-
all.
There's a green dotted line that goes through
Let's-
the corner of
But
it.
All right,
that's not.
let's draw this back to one conversation. Sharon, you wanted to say something? I'll recognize you.
I mean,
Did
I'd
I
love to
agree?
say
Is that-
open space, but that one doesn't have some of the features that we can justify differently than all the others, but
Mm.
we don't necessarily wanna encourage development of it, but we don't think that we can
Okay.
restrict it as much as we can restrict others.
We'd like to understand the history of it.
And I was gonna say, Paul, this is the only recorded ownership I have, I can find right off. So 57, Harold Humphrey came into ownership, and the town took ownership in 93.
Yeah, so nobody lost that lot for taxes in 1993.
In 93?
I do not think so.
No?
We bought it when?
You know,
Well,
it's hard to tell.
I mean, it was
Um,
like part of the
we could-
movie theater,
We could look up those
something weird.
book and page numbers, and you might get some sense of whether there was a judgment, because if it's taxes, there's a record in the land records.
But
We can
no
look
matter
that
what
up.
the situation is, we don't have any other criteria, it doesn't include other open
Yeah.
space, it doesn't have wetlands, it doesn't have any particular features.
That was my
so-
sense, Sharon. I put
I
a
mean,
T,
yeah, I'd love to save it, but I don't think that it has the same.
It's very simple, I'll go look at it, maybe I
Yeah.
can find something.
It just seems very curious that
Yeah.
the town would own a rectangular lot on a desirable street for no reason whatsoever.
Mm.
And it's very unusual that somebody would turn it over to the town for property taxes when they could turn around and sell the lot. It just doesn't make sense. There must be more of a story behind it.
yeah,
I'd be curious what that is,
yeah, I don't know.
but
I'll see what I can find.
We can ask, Mrs. Shaw has a wonderful memory of all things town history.
You better ask her fast,
Yeah,
Right.
you ask her
very
fast.
fast.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait.
Should we
So-
have a party?
48,
If I
They're
ever,
having a guest, they're having an open. house
48
there.
days?
48 years.
Oh my god. She doesn't want to go for that next round 50, huh?
so, Paul, do
So
you
I
wanna
would like
defer any comment on this one?
Yeah, I'd like to know the history
Yeah.
on it.
I mean, if somebody wants to grab those book and page numbers, you can look up. If I get a chance, I'll do it, but I'm a little stacked. So, But I think you look up the history there, 200, 358, and you might find
Stay
something
any
right.
longer, we're gonna have,
When the town
Bell's
took
quiche
ownership,
for
it might
breakfast.
tell us. If we have time right after meeting, I can do it.
I
But-
don't read it.
Okay, so I think that's what we,
Well, I'm gonna be gone.
okay.
When
So-
Can I call the meeting to
The 20th?
adjourn?
December 20th.
Yeah. All right, can we get everybody back for a second? All right, I think we're done, Sharon, so would you like,
I propose that
My second?
so in a non-debatable motion, we will be adjourned.
Okay. We have a nice-
Happy holidays, everybody!
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.